Okay, this is May 21st, 1982. We're going to show you a little of the springs work of 1982 and the methods we use now. Coming down the field here, or by the way, we should inform you we've had a lot of rain. We've been laid up for 2 weeks of rain. And we're having a problem with wet spots and so forth. And I see Jane now has just spun out up here and into the field, so she had to stop and raise the cultivator somewhat to get through. But I see she's coming now, trying to just get the cultivator adjusted again. We're chisel plowing here with our 895 Versatile tractor and our 45-foot chisel plow with our cold flow anhydrous applicator on it. We've gone to minimum tillage, so we are just chisel plowing in the anhydrous nitrogen right on stubble. And the next operation will be simply to come with our air seeder and seed on this stubble. We're farming, this is our grandpa's land, what we call the bottom place. Here we have a soil that's a little lighter than some areas. We have planted a one-row shelter belt here to help in prevention of wind erosion. It's a half-mile long here on this land. It also collects extra snow in the winter to make moisture for summertime. Jane coming right for us there. interested in is just describing our equipment now, so that in later years our kids can come along and say, "Dad, how did you ever get along with that old equipment you got there?" Or that small equipment. Like this is a 310 horsepower tractor, and it'll be interesting to find out what Paul will be farming with in his day if he should decide to farm. Now Jane's spinning out in the mud again in the end there. Close-up view here of the stubble to show you all the stubble that's we're leaving on top here to prevent wind erosion and also for water erosion. We haven't used a moldboard plow for 2 years on this farm, and we're beginning to believe that this is not necessary. We also have seeded 160 acres into no-till, so the only tillage tool is used is our only machine is used as our air seeder. Here comes Jane again. Purchase price of a tractor like that listed about $100,000 now. Just as a comparison for news years later, we bought that 2 years ago though, and paid we paid $55,000 for that tractor. Tractor on the farm. A little wet up there? Both ends of the field are wet, aren't they? Yeah. Well, that was a good shot picture here. Get a close-up shot up there. Smile, dear.
And today is the 20th of May. It's about 2 o'clock. Kids get home early today. Last day of school. We both passed. Paul will be in the 2nd grade next year and Tracy in the 7th grade. Look at that far smoke out there. Wow. The field is really wet, so.
This is a 2390 case, about 79. We're pulling a 56-foot Herman harrow with a sprayer attachment on it, which we use for putting our chemicals on. Being wet down there. We'll zoom in to get her up closer coming. Okay, now we're experiencing another interesting part of our farming and our modern day farming. We have Lane Jacobson doing our aerial crop spraying. He's spraying Roundup chemical for quackgrass control at this time. For another pass here. We were spraying on the land we bought from Emmett Walker last winter. Lane here is spraying our field, doing some spot spraying too for this Roundup, with this Roundup chemical for the quackgrass. So he doesn't have to spray the entire field. Lane has been in the spraying business for many years now, and he runs 2 planes. Well, this concludes our air show by Lane Jacobson. Maybe you wanna. Yeah, he's taking.
There's David walking towards the tractor. He's gonna start seeding here now in a little bit. Paul's on there waiting for Daddy to come. Seeding durum here. Just about done with the durum now. There's the truck up there, it's full of seed. Those are our bins. See a house there, covered with trees. Grandpa's barn, Quonset.
I read you.
Pickled eggs.
What is it?
Tell them pickled eggs.
Pickled eggs. Did I?
There they come, a great big outfit. I'm gonna zoom in on them here.
Pleasant things about life on our farm is all our trees. Here our lilacs are blooming this year as probably the best blossoms in years. They're just beautiful. This is the 29th of May right now. Their lilacs are in full bloom. These lilac blossoms here. Kind of windy today. Maybe we'll try it again tomorrow when it isn't so windy and see if they'll come out prettier then. Gardener Jane, who has put the most elbow grease into our yard work. There's our house in the background. What you got there, Jane?
Get on a kick one day.
That sounds good.
Look pretty.
Just beautiful. Now the wind has gone down a little bit so we can get a better look at them. And here's the kids' playhouse that they've had a lot of fun in. This playhouse has quite a history behind it. Maybe 20 years ago or so, 18 years ago, Grandpa built this playhouse for Marv and his girls. And it was hauled to Woodworth, I believe, and then it was hauled to Napoleon. And his girls outgrew it. So it was hauled back to this farm now where all the grandchildren, Grandpa's grandchildren, including our kids, have fun with this. And last summer, Sarah and Tracy and kids repainted it and got it looking sharp again. And here we have a view of our home that was built in 1977. And the rock standing in the foreground here in the yard is at its original site, only it was laying down at that time, and it was a buffalo wallow rock where the buffalo used to scratch their bellies. There was a area around it all worn down in the dirt where they've been walking around it. At least that's the story Grandpa tells us. Notice all the trees are just beautiful this time of the year. Here comes Tracy hiking in. And she decided Daddy had a good idea to take pictures, so she's going to do the same. On this lawnmower. But all the grandchildren learn how to drive on this one. Grandpa, he has lots of fun on this thing. Every day at the time he gets on and mows a little bit with it. That sounds good. In front of this house, there's more foliage behind here.
I was gonna, if I went to Arizona, I'd take that extension cable and tie this thing back away in the luggage compartment. Strap it down.
Is everything not? I didn't move anything.
It's upside down.
No problem.
No, lost the cable here.
What?
Ah! Get my foot in! Come on, Grandpa. You know, and you don't know the secrets to how to do this.
Chef.
Aha! Something.
Aha!
He said it was coffee.
Well.
Hey, let me annoy. See, the problem, I think you're going to have to flip your eyepiece down to get this up above the dash. I know, I had an awful time.
Yeah, it would be hard, wouldn't it, dear?
The Cessna would be so much better for taking pictures.
See, that's pretty good when you get up there and you can see.
Yeah. But not the windows, it's a little.
Oh.
Up your foot.
See the propeller going around a little bit up there? You don't want me to help you fly, huh?
No. By golly, it isn't. No, it is.
And here we go. And we're off, huh? That was a smooth takeoff.
Got so much weight in here, I can't tell.
Nice going.
All things are pretty this time of year, aren't
Yeah. Kind of nice if we could get up above the clouds a bit here. I think it's about too late.
Devil's Lake over there, is it? Yeah, over here?
Way up there. Got the camera going?
Yeah, I got her going now. Oh, Kenny, oh, dude. Oh, Kenny. No, don't. We get a picture of the top side of the clouds here.
Bottom side of Jake's stomach.
Right over here.
Oh, it's something.
Boy, those
Right on
clouds
top.
look like whipped cream.
Oh, we're okay here.
It looks like whipped cream.
I have no idea.
Isn't that something? We're about a mile in the air, aren't we? Arnold? Kidding, I thought we were more in Devil's Lake area.
Oh, you were when I started coming down.
We made a turn, huh?
Maybe stick the sign on the bit. I'll slip you right in there.
And here we have Arnold.
Go around and get pictures of all the little clouds. I'm too close.
Nobody home. Holje Farm. Boy, do they have the quad fence, huh?
Yeah, the turning getter did a lot of work this year.
just shows you when you're getting close to the ground, huh?
No, it tells you that you're stalling, and the longer you have it on, the better you're doing.
Here we're just getting done from our good plane ride. Got Kenny tying the plane down.
You got the cap on your camera.
The heck I have! I took it off again.
You did.
When you tried to fool me and put it on, see?
I thought I had it all covered up. Yeah, it's pretty good there. Really, Al? Yeah, come here.
It just might rain, all right.
Gotta push it backwards some more.
We can do it. Hi, Leanne. And here comes our good helpers here to help us push, huh?
There's David. What's David doing? Daddy and Mommy?
That should do it.
Airplane? Daddy flies? Daddy? Is that enough?
Hi, Leanne. You wave your hand to me? Huh? You wave bye-bye? Or hi?
Where's the airplane? Huh? Where's the airplane?
How'd you like to ride in it, Leanne? You like to ride in the airplane? Do ya?
Should we have ice cream? Should we have some ice cream? Okay.
That sounds like a good idea.
Oh.
It's gonna get wet awfully soon.
I figured we wouldn't make it off here.
We've got Kenny 760 going over here. Debbie coming with R914. While all this combining goes on, here sits the chief supervising.
I'm the supervisor.
Yeah, that's about it.
I suppose you don't need a parts book for that international.
Heavens no.
Yeah.
I had.
There, I'll take a look at that big red streak coming down the
Why,
field.
sure. It takes 2 years, you know, to get the bugs out of them. When they get old like mine, they run good.
There they go. Very dusty.
That's for sure. Okay. Here we've got that machine just to tighten down the spot here. I better get on this side so I don't get dusty.
Picking up hitchhikers.
You are, huh?
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna get one more of the other combine that comes back.
Okay, I'll tell you when.
Wow. These pictures are taken down here on what we call the bottom place in Grandpa's land. Happens to be the same field where he took pictures last spring when we were putting anhydrous on. having a pretty good harvest here in 82. We're running durum yields right in about the 35 bushel range, which is we're happy with. Pretty good up there in that truck. Said, come on out and they get your picture. Let's get out in the sunny side here and we get your picture. That's always been your favorite, to be out in the harvest field. Yep, been a lot of years that you've been out harvesting here, isn't it?
Yeah.
When did you first start farming this bottom place?
Oh, that's a long time ago.
When, in the 30s sometime or what?
In the 30 years sometime.
Yeah. When did you haul the buildings home then?
You go
Oh,
talk
that
to
was
him.
in about 1910 or something like that.
19, oh, it was later than that.
Oh yeah, it was later
Must
than
have been in about the middle 40s.
that. Yeah, it must have been in the 40s, I guess. A long time ago now.
Maybe we should trade trucks. I'll put my sign over there.
I think so, huh? I don't know who'd get the best deal. Here we got Kitty and Francis coming, trying to unload on the go. Only trouble, they're making the first swath down the field. They don't have an open spot to drive. It's nice to see a year where we have nice big swaths as we have here. It makes harvesting a lot more fun when we can see good results of our year's work. In 82, I guess our big concern is not yield but price. Our market price for good #1 hard amber durum is only about $3.10 a bushel, which is far below our cost of production. So most of us end up putting it under government storage for a few years to hope that we can get a better price a few years from now. Kenny and Francis coming another pass here. They're gonna unload on the go now with a little more room. I observe his augers coming out now. Kenny gets all lined up on the truck here. Here comes the grain. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, that went good.
Let's let you do it next time. See, Phil first.
But I'm going to go back and just take a look at no-till operation itself to try and show you some of the differences, and not necessarily talking about winter wheat itself. I think the thing as we need to remember, and sometimes I don't think we realize the significance of it when we talk about no-tillage. There's so many things that we take for granted when we till the soil in terms of our regular operations. Weed control, fertilizer incorporation, and seedbed preparation are those things. And I suppose when we get back down to looking at things, the weed control is probably the most crucial thing in no-till, depending again a little bit on your weed species. And then fertilizer application. When we look at a timeline, as Ron has mentioned, we start to take this major difference of no-tillage and see what it does to production practices. Weed control has two distinct different periods compared to conventional tillage. In the fall, we look at getting rid of winter annuals. If you remember 2 years ago around here when you had all the stubble left, we had a dry fall, a lot of stubble was left, and the next spring you had all kinds of weeds out in your field that you hadn't seen before. Little yellow ones about so tall, and then some taller weeds, a lot of field pennycress, tansy mustard that you hadn't seen before. And that's because you didn't get the fall tillage done. And normally the fall tillage will eliminate these weeds, which we call winter annuals. So that was a good illustration of one of the things that you'd be faced with when you don't fall till or you go into a no-till system. So the first opportunity for that is to control these in the fall with 2,4-D. They're real easy to control in the fall and very difficult in the spring. The other thing in the fall is to control perennial weeds. Obviously, if you're not tilling the soil, you have to come in with a spray program to control the weeds. And fall is an excellent time to control thistle or quackgrass. Then we come to the spring period, and again, because you're not doing a seedbed preparation and controlling weeds with that springtime seedbed preparation, there needs to be another spraying there to control the weeds that have germinated in the spring. That's the other major difference between no-till and conventional tillage and weed control. So just before seeding or just after seeding, whatever your courage allows you to do, you spray with generally a Roundup, or around here it's Roundup, in warmer areas Paraquat, some herbicide combination to burn down existing weeds. After that, your weed program is pretty much the same with post-emergent herbicides, whatever you choose to use along that line. The other time for fall, in the fall, is fertilizer application. Again, most of us are doing that, but unless we get into a special situation where soil disturbance can be kept to a minimum, we're generally talking about the use of granular herbicides on the surface. And again, no tillage for incorporation, so we need to kind of look at either being lucky enough to do it just before rainfall or doing it late enough in the fall where we don't have volatilization losses because the soil is cool. So late in the fall we'll be putting on surface applications, or if you have an ideal situation where you could come in with anhydrous ammonia. I'm not opposed to that. A lot of people are because of feeling of excess tillage. Using that in certain situations and putting that on in the fall. I guess then when we come down to the other situations in the spring is pretty much the same as conventional tillage. But tillage does play a pretty important part in the way we farm today, and when we reverse that, we have to come back and think about the things that are different. And the two major things is weed control and fertilizer application. Does that kind of cover what you wanted to run on that? Do you want to take time for questions if there are any? Do you have any questions on that? Carl?
Terry, dry fall like this, and there's not much green out there, a little bit down along the draw. You're really not talking about a whole field spraying program right now, are you?
No, that's a good point Carl's brought up, but the area is generally quite dry, and I would guess that North Dakota is right now. I haven't paid a lot of attention to other areas. We don't have very much wheat growth at all. And if you don't have wheat growth out there, you don't go out and spray. And I guess this brings up another point. We've been getting a lot of questions on fall use of Roundup for quackgrass control and thistle control. And we have two problems there. One is the regrowth situation. And when we come out a little bit later this year in some of the fields, quackgrass or the thistle hasn't regrown. And it's compounded by the fact that it's so dry that the crop is really slow growing. And we had the early frost. As we go further north, that was a problem as well. So with Roundup, fall Roundup on perennial weeds need active regrowth of 6 to 10 inches at least, and it's better if it's really growing well to get good control. If you don't have those situations, or if you're looking at grass, if say this was a situation where it's going into dormancy, you'll have very poor control with Roundup if you were to spray it on quackgrass that looked like this brome in the ditch. So fall weed control, all these things need to be flexible. When you're talking about chemical weed control program, the weeds, it does make a difference which chemical you're using, and the cultivator it doesn't. So generally go out with the plow and you take care of the situation. You're not going to go out there this fall and spend a lot of money on herbicide when there's no weeds there to spray. Another advantage, I guess, is you don't have any rock picking to do in the spring, and for guys with a lot of rocks, it's one of the things that always comes up with no-till. They don't pick rocks, and they rather enjoy that. Any other questions? Maybe just a comment or two on winter wheat seeding. Again, with the dry fall, quite a problem. We're seeding winter wheat late here because of the way things worked out. Ideally, we should have seeded at least a week ago, between the 1st and the 15th of September. But when you're seeding into dry soil, there's always the same old problem that you face in the spring, I guess, with no moisture for germination. Generally, my feeling is if you got an adequate stubble of 6 to 8 inches, this is still not too late for winter wheat for survival. It will delay heading into the next season and may compound some problems due to leaf rust because both the winter wheats that we commonly plant are susceptible to leaf rust. But ideally, you should be planting earlier at about a bushel per acre, using phosphorus fertilizer and seeding into a stubble situation. Some way to trap snow. Last winter, when we, in different demonstration plots where there was no stubble, the temperatures in the soil fell below the killing point for winter wheat for almost 2 months. Where we had 3 to 6 inches of snow, it only dipped down there for a couple of weeks. And where we had 6 inches of snow or 6 inches of stubble or so, it never got below the killing point for winter wheat at any time in the season. As a matter of fact, it was about 6 degrees above that all winter long. So stubble's crucial, very essential. If you don't put it in the stubble, your chances of getting a winter wheat crop are very small. And I guess that's why we haven't had it in years past. Yes? What happens if it doesn't sprout this fall? The winter wheat needs to undergo a period of cold weather before it will head. If we got, and most of the time it'll sprout, it'll get active enough, and they've found that even though it's germinated and the seed itself is actively growing, it'll be enough to cause this vernalization, as they call it, so that the winter wheat would head out next spring. If, for example, it stayed dry and didn't germinate at all, and germinated next spring, we would need, that plant would have to have a certain amount of growth, and then still have about 3 weeks of cold weather, down in the 30s and 40s, for that vernalization to take place. Otherwise, heading would not happen. Just for curiosity, how many people here know about Strawstorm or have heard of it before? Okay, about half, yeah. So some of you do know something about it. straw storm is a combine attachment that goes in place of the chopper on your combine. Now, rather than having a vertically rotating chopper, it has horizontally opposed rotating blades that rotate at 1800 RPM, and as the straw drops into these blades, it's chopped up about the same as it'd be in a standard chopper and spread out up to 55 feet wide. Now, the spread depends on how you set it. It is adjustable from 20 to 55 feet, so you can adjust it for your swathing operation, or if you're straight cutting, or whatever your operation might be. Now, also, underneath this chopper, there's an extension of your shoe that moves back and forth with your shoe, carrying the chaff down to two smaller spinners. These spinners are rotating at 600 RPM, and they spread your chaff out. It's not quite as adjustable as the spread on your straw, but nonetheless, you can get your chaff out to about 30 feet. Some of the advantages of this, I think they hit a little bit, Ron talked about it a little bit, but I think you all have probably had to go out in your field after you got done combining and harrow back and forth trying to spread that straw, trying to spread the chaff. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. This machine does it while you're combining, giving you one less operation. Also, I've been told by some farmers that your chemical incorporation is going to be more effective if you don't have that heavy row of straw and chaff residue. In other words, you're not going to have that residue to soak up your chemical.
With his Noble drill with Kirschman box on it, why don't we just step down there and let Joe get started? Okay, Carl wanted to say a couple words here.
Hey, before you run off here, Carl Fanning, soil specialist, you fellows have to appreciate that, gee whiz, we've got a bunch of fellows that pulled equipment out here, and they haven't had time to get it all set to run right. And how many of you boys ever set a piece of equipment that run right in the first 30 feet? Let me see your hand. All you Norwegians, okay, now you understand that, and I watched old Joe unload down there, and he's like every farmer I ever saw, like me, when I try to unload equipment. I see he's got a couple of bench shanks. And talking to the haybuster folks, they tell me that the new machine they unloaded down there, they partially assembled it before they brought it out here. And I see this good haybuster unit over behind me. They've got it sitting on a different tractor, and they're having a little trouble getting that to run right. Now, all of this equipment, in my opinion, is going to run better after one of you has had it, and you're likely to see it run here in the first 30, 40 feet this morning. One other point in that regard, in all of your no-till work, fellas, it all works better. All of the equipment works better if the straw is dry and crackles. When the straw is a little tough, it runs tough. And what we have sitting here in front of us is second and third generation kinds of equipment. You heard about the straw spreader. We're in first generation on straw spreaders. The John Deere folks are working on them, the haybuster folks are working on them, but the problem is tail end of every machine is different. Got to redesign one every time you put it on a different machine. First generation seeding equipment around here would be the kind of machine like the one that Joe pulled over. He took the old Noble and he's reworked it. Good John Deere setting down here, do a good job. First generation machine if the stubble is not too tough. The Wilrich unit is essentially been redesigned and reworked to do this job. We would have to call that second generation. The row crop unit down there from Buffalo Till has gone through several modifications. And we're fortunate here to see Haybuster's second or third, I suppose that's probably the third modification now in that other unit down on the end. And I want you to appreciate this before this equipment starts to run, and you've come to see it run, and by golly, we're grateful, Rob.
Thank you, Carl. One more thing I have to mention about Joe's drill here. He's been using, like I say, for a couple of years, and we've been watching it in the county, and some of the stuff that he used it on this year, he used it for his no-till corn and his spring wheat and winter wheat, and he's real satisfied with it. I don't know, he'll probably get that tone when you listen to him for a little bit, but it's worked real well, and from what we were watching, his no-till fields, as far as disturbance and emergence and everything, looked just as good as some of the other new drills too. So I think Joe's got a pretty good little unit there, and I know he's satisfied with it. He had the Haybuster 1206 down there, putting some winter wheat in side by side with that, and I think he felt that the penetration and disturbance are about the same on that.
Might comment today that we're at the Dennis Tufte farm for a no-till demonstration with various machines. This is Joe Black's machine here that he has remodeled an old Noble, and it's doing real well with that. It's on the 20th of September, 1982. Eating winter wheat.
Irrigation specialist from Kennington Irrigation Station talk a little bit about this unit.
Okay, first thing I want to make is comment that I'm not selling these units. But we did use this particular one last year for some minimum till and no-till work, demonstration work with sunflowers and corn. The unit is made in Nebraska by Fleischer Manufacturing, and it was developed originally by the University of Nebraska Ag Engineers back in the late 50s, early 60s. Fleischer Manufacturing then took the unit and redeveloped it, redesigned it, and as Carl said, it probably been redesigned 5 or 6 or 7 times. The way the unit is equipped now, it is strictly a no-till unit with a slot shoe. The coder with the depth bands in front to cut any of the trash that you'll be running into, then the slot shoe follows immediately behind that. The seed is dropped into the slot made by the shoe. Then you will notice a little yellow press wheel. This follows immediately pressing the seed directly into the firm, moist soil. Then you've got 2 press wheels set at an angle, and these firm the soil in over top of the seed. The unit you see behind is used only when we change over to the sweep that you see behind. So this unit is strictly a no-till situation. You're going to be spraying your herbicide to take care of the weeds, similar to the pattern that Terry was talking about. It would work real well. In fact, this worked real well for sunflowers a year ago this last summer when we were using this particular unit. Now, if you're looking at corn and want to do some cultivation where you might say you do minimum till, you would still go in the same situation with no pre-plant tillage, but then you would use this, replace those slot shoe with this sweep. This sweep operates at about 1.5 to 2 inches under the surface, removes that surface soil, throws it between the rows, and leaving you a very clean 10-inch area that is semi-tilled. Then the seed is dropped into that. You went through the same process of the wheel pressing it into the soil. You replace the wheels with covering discs, which throw a little extra dirt over the top. Then you drop this finger harrow, which tends to loosen up the top again. And also incorporate any herbicide that you might put on in a band.
Let's see, is Dennis around?
There he is. Work for him, and
just give you some of his thoughts about it.
All I can say is I do like the outfit. We seeded winter wheat in the stubble last year, and we seeded spring wheat, or durum, and sunflowers solid with them, and it works good.
Okay, go ahead and fire her up. Stand by.
One thing I'd like to mention here, we're going to mention it later, but now it'd be a good time. This is Dennis Tufty right here. This is his farm and his land that we're using, and we sure appreciate all that he's done. He's got a couple tractors and equipment out here, and really helped us a lot on this. Also, well, we'll give a few other thank yous after he gets fired up and moving here.
Puts a no-till drill into it. It may have ridden over the flax stubble just a little bit in the bunches from the chopper, but it did a real good job on that, I feel.
Here, we'll let the gentleman, the representative from Haybuster, say a couple words about it here, too. Why don't you hang on just a second, Randy, before you fire her up.
This drill here is one of our no-till drills. We have 5 styles out at this time. This drill here has capability of planting right in the stubble, updating alfalfa or pasture land. The drill empty weighs 6,100 pounds. Each one of the openers has 400 pounds of down pressure on the spring. It holds 24 bushels of grain and 1,500 pounds of fertilizer. This unit is in a 12-foot model, and you can hook up to 4 of them together. This unit list price lists out without fertilizer around 10.4. The other drill that I have down there we'll get into when I get down that way. That's our new model out. It's never been in the field up in this area yet. So we're going to show you how that one operates here in a little bit too. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you. Yeah, the new style drill down there, we're not going to put any seed in. I pulled that out of the plant this morning down there, and I guess what I did do is check to make sure the paint was dry before I got it up here. So we're going to show you how it goes through the ground, but we're not going to have any seed in it today.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Randy. We'll fire that one up, and let's see. Is Dennis, okay. If anybody's got any questions for Dennis, Percy or anything like that, I'm sure they'll have it. Something I want to mention, with the Dakota planter, if you want to do some more sales, if the rain's got along, just get a hold of it or pick up over there, and we've got some information.
go in the ground at all, would it? It's getting rain, I think it works even good.
So once you set the drill down on the ground, if you're pulling 2 or 3 together, your tires are off the ground, you just go back, pull the pins, and you got them in forward position. This drill holds about 16 bushels in the front, 1,200 pounds of fertilizer in the back. This drill, if you're not using fertilizer, you can fill both tanks with seed, and you can see that much longer in the field with this unit. The bottoms all drop open from the front for easy clean out. You can pull them right off of there. I want to mention that price-wise, this unit right now for 10-foot sections is $7,200. 2 of them together is a little over $14,000. You got 20 feet of drill. That'll go conventional or no-till. As far as what we know this drill will do, we're not sure yet. We're still messing with it, still playing with it. We've had a lot of farmers buy it down in the South Dakota and the southern part of North Dakota. Some soil districts have got 2 of them, and it's an all-new ball game. We're learning a lot of things that we thought we knew that we didn't, and a few other things on this drill. So we're letting.
You can see on here. We took an old chaff saver blower from an old chaff saver we had and redesigned that on the back end of our combine.
Okay, now we're taking pictures with my camera to see if there's any difference in the 2 cameras. We'll zoom it back and get a picture of Milt trying to read the instructions to see why my camera won't work on his recorder. Okay. And it should, but we can't get it to work on your recorder.
I can't.
I'll zoom it up again, back and forth here.
Just checking this focus switch and focus button here. Just trying to figure that out. I don't know why it shouldn't work though. Both there's enough alike that actually just a difference in models that certainly shouldn't make any difference. You should be able to buy one camera and put it on.
Yeah, and all your equipment should be more deluxe than mine. Yours should be better than mine.
Well, that's you gotta wonder about that when the way I'm turning out.
I'm doing what you shouldn't do is walk with the camera on because we're not that steady. We'll zoom in your pickup on this one too.
Well, what there is about these two is why shouldn't work though.
See, I can manually bring it into focus and it stays now. But last night I sure didn't think that we were able to get that banner I was reading, that CND banner focused on yours.
Okay, now it's on manual.
That had deep banded with this when we seeded the winter wheat.
Drifted up the cut off the volunteer gardeners from the previous crop, which is good. They're doing a nice job on that.
liquid fertilizer and then hydrogen in deep depth.
Some gentlemen that's used it before is, first of all, I don't believe that this unit, maybe Terry could talk over it, I think Terry, I don't believe this unit is meant for, to be working in stubble anyway, especially on a hilltop here, etc. The ground probably should be prepared a little bit ahead of time for it as far as penetration and also fogging up with stubble setting. Terry, why don't you say a couple things? You've worked with the applicator before and see your thoughts on it. Just to talk a little bit about dual application, what we mean by dual application is normally that you put in the usual situation is a nitrogen source, anhydrous ammonia or some source of nitrogen along with a phosphorus source, which in this case is a liquid, either a 1034 or the 054 phosphoric acid, which some guys are using as well. The idea is that you put both the phosphorus and the anhydrous down at the same time in the same depth. And the real crucial point of the whole thing that we're talking about is getting phosphorus down deep. That's the difference compared to drill applied. The data is indicating that this type of fertilizer method is equal to, and in lots of cases better than, drill applied. I've only seen one or two occasions in all the research where it has less yield than drill applied phosphorus. So if it works out for you and it's convenient in your operation in the fall to put down the phosphorus with the nitrogen, whatever you're using, then you can have your nitrogen fertilization completed and go ahead with spring seeding without necessarily putting on additional phosphorus. To refine that method a little bit, what we've seen is that when we have a dry period of time, phosphorus on the surface, if there's no moisture, becomes unavailable to the plant. Phosphorus down at 5 inches deep will be in moisture for a longer period of time, and the plant's able to use it for a longer period of time. So you have more phosphorus uptake, better growth, and a little bit better yields.